Hi, welcome back to me and Mon Ami, and it's hard to believe, but we've had our Grande Panda almost a year on April the 3rd. And so in this video, I thought we'd tell you about our experiences with a Fiat Grande Panda Electrique over the last 10 months, the good, the bad, the ugly, and also tell you about a major problem we have. So here she is, Grande Panda, and well, it's been quite a journey. We've done 6,500 kilometers, so you know, about, I don't know, what's that, 5,000 miles, something like that. But over 10 months, we've gone rooftop camping with it. We've been to Corsica. We've gone normal camping. We've just generally camped around. So we've kind of put it through its paces, and of course we have had a number of problems, most of which were self-inflicted. We've had 2 punctures. First one definitely self-inflicted. That was me driving into the curb, a very sharp curb, but that was user error. The second puncture occurred just up this road here. That definitely wasn't my fault. It was just really bad luck. But in terms of running costs, we've racked up, what with retrieval of the car on the back of the truck and all the rest of it, about 750 euros worth of puncture incident. Now, if you compare that to our dear old Citroen Ami, touch wood, touch that tree over there, Mr. Boo, we've literally spent nothing maintaining the Citroen Ami. I mean, almost zero. We've not had to replace a tyre, anything like that. I think I got some new hubcaps after very early on I curbed the Citroen Ami. There's a pattern here, you'll see it. But anyway, we've got over that. We've got over the fact that I think what threw me to begin with was that this beast is, you know, it's not a massive car, but it's a lot bigger than a Citroen Ami. And on some of these narrow roads, I got into a bit of a flap, and that's why the curbing happened, etc. Mr. Boo's going to get run over. There he is, he's safe, he's safe. The other incident I had, again, user error, or, well, we're going to come to this. We're going to come to this because this is part of the big problem we have. This was a user error in which I drove into a very low post whilst doing one of my Panda tours. I was probably giving some in-depth history on the area, as I tend to do, and an almighty crunch occurred, and you can see I've had to tape this up, and whilst the parking sensor is still working, it's not really at the right angle, so it peeps a lot. But we're going to talk to the Citroen dealership about that, but that isn't our major problem. But the reason we've done nothing about it, apart from not wanting to spend the money, is that I'm not actually sure that these parts will be yet available, because you know, we're seeing very few of these here in France. They are emerging. They've emerged in the last few weeks, last couple of months really. In fact, there's one comes up here, a blue one, but we've seen very few of them. I think there's quite a lot more in Italy, and I think back in Britain you've probably seen virtually none so far. So all of that is good in terms of the bodywork and everything else, apart from the bits that I've done. This thing here, the much vaunted charging socket cable thing, which, you know, we loved the idea of, I still kind of love the idea of. This pulls out, so I think if you've got a charging point at home, you get home, you just pull this out, plug it in. I think that would be really convenient. We don't have that, so the only times we use this are really at public chargers. Now, it's not the fault of the thing, but unless you're able to park with this end near the public charger, you do end up with this thing tugged over the top of the car and having to pull the whole cable out. And it I've got to be honest, doesn't it, Mr. Boo? It can get a bit, it's a bit margin call as to whether it's really an advantage. Or
whether it's just groovy.
Whether it's just groovy. The other problem I have, and it does annoy me at times, is getting it back in, particularly in cold weather. It's very difficult to push it in. But I mean, you know, so I think it's a nice touch if you've got a charging station at home. You can just stick it in and you're not having to go in the boot, pull your cable out on all of that. But for the most part, we use a trickle charger on an extension at home, breaking all the rules. Don't tell Fiat, and it works perfectly. So as I say, all of the bodywork stuff not been an issue. The punctures were my issue. We still haven't got our white Panda things on here. We've got the black ones, but we cannot obtain the white ones, and we haven't quite plucked up the courage to go with the respray and all the rest of it. A couple of scratches we've got at the back here, again, user error. In terms of the ride of this thing, in terms of the comfort factor of this thing, it gets, I think, pretty top marks from us, doesn't it? And more importantly, it gets really top marks from the people who come on my Panda tours, because sometimes there's 3 people and you're putting them in the back here, and that, you know, they're proper size adults. And I've deliberately asked everyone, are you comfortable after a couple of hours? And I think the thing that surprised everyone is the comfort level. Similarly, in the front, for us, it's fantastic for long journeys, isn't it? I mean, you know, I know we're coming from a pretty low bar. A Citroen Me, we love our Citroen Me, but comfort is not what it was made for. It's a utilitarian vehicle, and even though we've got a nice Dulcora seat covers on now, you know, it is for long journeys, etc. It is not super comfortable, but of course it's not made for long journeys. We'll come to that in a second. But this thing, super comfy in the front. I do love driving it. I do love all the space, these storage boxes. For us filming on the channel, you know, they're full of camera equipment and all kinds of rubbish, but there is absolutely tons of storage space. You know, I think these things do matter, particularly if you're trying to film. In terms of the interior and the look, obviously we fell for the look of this over the Citroen EC3, which is a very similar piece of kit. It's the same chassis, etc, etc, but we just preferred how groovy this looked inside. Now, one problem for sure is that this, I think, recycled plastic or something. It comes from 700 old Coke bottles or something, I don't know, but it scratches like Billy-O. In fact, our little Chihuahua only has to put a paw up here and you get a scratch. You can scratch it with a nail. So it doesn't remain in mint condition, and I think you can probably see along here there's lots of scratches. Similarly, this shiny finish stuff here by the drivetrain, the gear stick, this scratches a lot, and it is an absolute dust magnet. This, where you charge the phone, very handy. However, from very early on, the heat managed to rise this up, and you can see that it's sort of it needs re-gluing down. So that's something we may mention when we take this thing in to try and solve our major problem. Heating, air conditioning work perfectly for us. I mean, again, massive luxury, because the Citroen Me doesn't have any of that in any real sense. Certainly doesn't have aircon, and has a very rudimentary heater. In terms of electric windows and all that, no problem whatsoever. In terms of the height inside here, again, guests love it. People coming on the tours love it. We love it. It was a bit of a learning curve because you're quite high up. You've got a big bonnet. We're not used to any kind of bonnet with a Citroen Me. You can see right in front of yourself. And I think that's why I had the odd little scrape in car parks and multi-stories, etc, etc. Now, in terms of it being a city vehicle, in terms of our use case, I have to confess that in recent times, we have drifted back to our lovely Citroen Me to nip into Nice. We live about 7 kilometers from Nice. The reason we've drifted back to it is as simple as this: we can park it so much easier. This is not massive, but it is not small, and it is not super easy to park, and you're sort of more conscious of scratching it and etc, etc. Whereas the old plastic of Me here, you know, you're not quite as precious about it, and it is super easy to park. It's got a very tiny turning circle, and you can you know, it just makes life easier. Now, I have to qualify this: if it's raining or if it's super hot, we don't get an Me, because, as I've said in many other videos, the Me is lovely, but it is not geared to super hot weather, and it is not geared to rainy weather where it steams up and all the rest of it. So for us, having the luxury of a car that has windscreen wipers and a demister and all of those things is very good. In terms of the perennial question about range, I'm not going to give you any detailed stats. Safe to say we're perfectly happy with the range. It's 300 kilometers. Of course, if it's super hot, you don't quite get that. If it's super cold, you don't quite get that. If the terrain is more uphill, you don't quite get that. But you do get quite a lot of regen. In fact, on our tours, sometimes we go up to 2,000 meters at the Fort de la Riviere, use a lot of power getting up there. And on the way back down into Villefranche, we will have gained capacity. So, you know, the regen does absolutely work. In terms of ease of use, I like the fact it's got these proper switches, that it's not all touch screen. We'll come on to this in a second. And, you know, your stuff around the steering wheel is pretty bog standard. It's what you get on any of these cars these days. Our charging sockets both still working here. We've got the cigarette lighter thing with the dash cam, which occasionally we use for filming videos. So all of this is working well. In terms of boot capacity, in terms of storage, I think it's about 340 litres. That really works well for us. Of course, you know what happens in cars, you expand to the capacity you've got. We've got more junk in that boot than you'd believe. But in terms of camping and everything else, in terms of rooftop camping, it's been absolutely brilliant for that. And we're going to get a tow bar put on the back so we can take our e-bikes with us in this summer, because we want to do some e-bike adventures. And again, it's something we just couldn't do with dear old Elton, our Citroen and me. So what, you may wonder, is the big problem? Because I seem to be just waxing lyrical. The big problem, and it is a big problem, is this, the infotainment system. When we first got it, there were times when it would just turn itself off. Bear in mind, it has no physical switch on this infotainment system. There is nothing you can do beyond touch the screen. So it started to do this, and then this grew more and more frequent. And really for the last, 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months, it has been driving us absolutely potty, because basically it comes on, it boots up, it crashes. It comes on, it boots up, it crashes. Just occasionally, maybe 1 in every 15 goes or something like that, it'll stay on. Now, we've tried it without CarPlay connector, we've tried it with CarPlay connector, we've tried it hardwired, softwired, we've even disconnected the 12-volt battery in the under here and tried to reboot it that way, to no avail. We've tried to hard reset, we've tried to factory reset. There is absolutely nothing we can do, or that we can see that we can do, to change it. Now, it is not just that it's annoying, this constantly going on and off, and the sound going on for 10 seconds. It's not just that, it's actually dangerous, because thinking back when I had the bump with the fence there, this may be my excuse, but what happened, I think, is this went off. I got distracted. The camera didn't come, the parking sensor at the front didn't come on. And then I missed the fact that I was driving into this fence. And this is happening all the time. So we start reversing. You've got the parking camera at the back, which is great. And then suddenly this thing cuts off. Now, so we got in touch with Citroen, Fiat, poor Citroen, it's not their fault. We got in touch with Fiat. They didn't regard it as a imperative, in other words, to the safety of the vehicle, i.e. if we'd rung up and said, look, the brakes have failed or the accelerators come loose or something, that would have been dealt with straight away. That's an emergency. This, I think they regarded, what was the term? It was like a bonus.
Yeah.
It's driver aid rather than something that was essential. Well, I would argue not that iTunes is essential, not that you have music on that's essential, but I think with these cameras and the parking sensors cutting out, I think it is positively dangerous. Anyway, cut a long story short, we have finally got an appointment with the atelier, and we're going to go in on Monday. And we are hoping they can do something with this. Now, I've got to say, digging onto Italian Reddit strings and all this kind of stuff, this is a widely reported problem. And I'm afraid I've yet to read of anybody who's got it sorted. I'm hoping it's just a firmware update. We even got one of those things that you can get off Amazon to sort of block all the, to take off the fault codes off the thing. Thought that might help. It didn't. So we're hoping it is just a firmware issue. If it isn't, then this unit needs replacing. And again, you're just very wary that there are so few of these in France still, from what I'm seeing, that will they have these parts. So on Monday, we're going to go into the atelier. We're going to take you with us, and we're going to see whether they can fix this, and also whether they can remove some of the fault codes which have appeared on the dashboard here, you know, the tyre pressure, all this kind of nonsense that you tend to ignore. Now, I know these things are problematic on many electric, well, not just electric, many of modern cars in this sense. But this is a big problem. So let's see what happens when we go to the atelier. So at this very ungodly hour, we are heading to the Fiat dealership. Mr. Boo has gone in Elton because doubtless we will leave this car and it'll be there for 4 or 5 hours, and where, or it could be, where the dealership is, there's nothing to do at all out there. So we're thinking we're getting out and we'll go to the swimming baths or to the gym for a couple of hours, and hopefully then we'll be able to pick him up, pick Grande Panda up with this mended, although doubtless we'll get there and it'll be working perfectly today. You know, stayed on now, it'll turn off. It's gone off already. So anyway, let's see what happens. I really hope they can solve this because we've had enough. But Mr. Boo's got to go on the Promenade Anglais. I can go on the Voie Rapide because, of course, I'm a proper car. Anyway, let's see what happens. Ça suffit pour se dire qu'on s'aime un peu, beaucoup, à la folie. Je vais, la 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 la, tu fais, la 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 la, c'est pas génial, mais le principal, c'est d'être amoureux, c'est d'être heureux, c'est d'être deux, sans chercher vraiment ni pourquoi ni comment. Vous avez la coque avec? Ouais. Oui? Ouais. Ok. On verra ça. C'est peut-être. Ouais, je l'ai noté. Des fois, c'est pas de souci. So you've set him going, Mr. Boo.
Yep, and he's offered us a replacement car.
Yeah, right. It's lovely. So, but he seems to understand the problem of the infotainment going on and off, and there's a recall on the back lights or something they're going to do.
So I've signed it away, and he's going to check it all out, and he's gone in to turn it on to put the papers down to start it, and it's already going on and off. So he's like, I see what you mean.
It's a bit of a problem. And how long does he think it's going to be?
He said he'll call me at 10:30.
Oh, that's good. So, Mr. Boo, what's the verdict?
Wah, wah. It hasn't been repaired. He thinks it's going to have to be replaced. He's going to give me a ring, hopefully at the end of the week. But they've done all the tests and all the things to do everything else, software update, checked everything. Still don't know what it is.
Right, waste of a morning that. Up at 7 a.m, 11 a.m, and we're still no nearer to having a infotainment system that works. So they're going to ring up and call us back in, and we do it all again and get the replacement unit. It'll be weeks, I'll tell you now. Hey ho, enough complaining. So as you can see, I'm back in Grande Panda, and the good news is that 5 days after we made that last video, we got a call from the Fiat dealership saying that they had ordered this part, this infotainment system, and we were to come in a week later, which is today, Friday rush hour on Rue Johnny Mathis, to have it fit. So we are going in and we are going to discover whether after, I think it's almost 6 months of real annoyance, our infotainment on Grande Panda is going to be fixed, or whether it's actually a software issue or something entirely different. What did he say, Mr. Boo?
He said come back at 4:40, 4:45 at the latest because it's Friday and they close the doors early.
Oh, good. So it's a quick job, apparently.
In theory.
Right, let's go take this thing back to IKEA. So we're bringing our friend's seat tops back. It wasn't very well thought through to try and do this in the ME, was it?
Normally there'd be a giant plant in front of me in that seat instead.
I would have the inflatable roof on, roof rack.
Don't even talk about the inflatable.
Right, I'm going to put my seatbelt on and try. Oh, now I know how you felt when you had that balm up your bum. Do you remember that time?
I remember
That episode when we went to IKEA in an ME and came back with a Christmas tree and had the balm or something. Anyway, Mr. Booth, see if we can get there and back before they shut. Not IKEA, the Fiat dealership was from Harry Kane. Earning miles. Got it.
replacement chair tops.
For Tamsin. Right, Mr. Bull, let's go pick up Grande Panda before they shut and we don't have him for the weekend. And my people have got a tour tomorrow. Don't get a tour set. Oh, I do hope they've mended Grande Panda. The pessimist in me worries that there'll be a bigger issue. Do you know what I mean? We shall see.
We shall see.
And there, look at our Carpuride that I fit into the ME third party. Probably a link in the description. Can't recommend highly enough Carpuride. We've had it 4 years. Still working. Good as new. Never fails. Oh, traffic. What time is it? We're 20 minutes to get back before they shut up shop.
Valoriser le schéma pour tâter à deux rapidement. Then somehow I lancé.
Oui. What? So is there not a software update for it?
They can't. Every time they try, the whole system crashes.
So we need a new car. Unbelievable. Look, he's gone again. A total waste of time. Twice now. So I'm absolutely apoplectic. We were basically told last week that they were going to get a new unit. He's now saying this is the same unit we've tried to install and a software update. I could have told him the software update wouldn't work. It's been impossible to keep the thing on long enough to do anything with it for months. It's just a total waste of everybody's time and money. It's really, really.
Sorry? He said they have to do the procedure the way that Fiat make them do it, and that was to come and do this thing, and we knew, and I said, we knew that coming in, it was probably going to be the case, but we can't ask for another thing without having done this step. So that's what they've done. So the next step is them getting a new computer.
And when
It's ringing me on Monday.
right. It just takes such a lot of your time and my time. Yeah, I mean, I've still put this, but I mean, two of us have had to essentially use 3.5 hours or more of your day. And now we're going back in rush hour traffic. That's some IKEA meatballs. Anyway, there you go. That's the procedure. Great getting new cars, top of the range new cars, isn't it? They don't work. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video and my rant, please give us a like, please give us a comment. Please think about buying us a coffee. Poor Mr. Boo. It's not his fault, but my French isn't good enough to rant without just going mad, mad, mad. And that probably wouldn't cut it. But yeah, stay charged everyone. Bye.